Welcome back. In the end of the last video, we saw that when we called our constructor function, we did not return anything. The entire purpose of a constructor function is to construct objects. So when we call the function, we'd really like to have a new object be created. Unfortunately, that's not happening right now. But the good news is, we can fix our problems by using the new keyword. When we use the new keyword, everything magically works. The first house variable is now an object with a bedrooms, bathrooms, and number square feet property. But let's see just exactly what the new keyword does. Just like the keyword this, understanding what the new keyword does can be quite tricky, but review the slides, remember these rules, and most importantly, try coding a couple examples. It will really help your retention of the material. We see that the new keyword is being used with a function. In fact, the new keyword must be used with a function, or else we'll get a type error. Let's see why that's the case by examining just what the new keyword does. First, it creates an object out of thin air. Second, it sets the value of the keyword this in the constructor function which it's being used with to be that empty object that was just created. Third, it adds an implicit return this at the end of the function so that the object created using the new keyword can be returned from the function. Finally, and this one is the most tricky, it adds a property on the empty object which can be accessed using double underscore proto double underscore. This double underscore is commonly called dunder, so this property is also known as dunder proto. The dunder proto property links the object that was just created to the prototype property on the constructor function. That last sentence may have seemed like a blur, but don't worry too much for now. We're going to cover this in painstaking detail. For now, let's practice by making a constructor function for a dog. Each dog should have a name and an age. As a bonus, add a function for each dog object created from the function called bark. This function should console.log the name of the dog added to the string just barked. Pause the video and try to figure this out. So what did you come up with? Hopefully, it looks something like this. Here, we have a constructor function for a dog. This function takes in two parameters, name and age. Remember that you can name your parameters anything, but since we want to attach properties onto the object that we'll create, called name and age, we should probably name our parameters the same thing. Inside of this function, we're setting properties on the keyword this equal to the value of what is passed to the function, as well as adding a function called bark on to the keyword this, which console.logs the first name property concatenated with the string just barked. On the next lines, we're creating two variables, Rusty and Fido, and setting them equal to the value of the dog constructor function being invoked with the new keyword. Now before we recap what the new keyword does, pause the video and see if you remember any of those four things. First, it creates an empty object out of thin air. Second, it then sets the value of the keyword this in the function which it's being used with to be the empty object that was just created. Third, it adds an implicit return this at the end of the function so that the object created using the new keyword can be returned from the function. Fourth, it adds the dunder proto property onto the object that was just created. In this video, we examine how to use the keyword new to create objects from constructor functions. We learned about the four things that the new keyword does, which I highly encourage you to review because we'll be covering this in much more depth, and knowing the fundamentals is essential. In the next video, we're going to talk about using more than one constructor function and how we can refactor our code to make it even cleaner. See you then.